Hey everybody, it's Alan and Drew from the Rackspace Office Hours live stream. We're coming live from Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. This is our weekly live stream, and today we're going to be talking about our brand new OpenStack Everywhere platform. I'm really excited about it. It's a really cool product, and we've brought in a couple of people to talk to us about that. Right. So sitting next to us is Joe Sacitano. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing really well. How are y'all?
Oh, doing great. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. And sitting just up the road in Austin is Ryan Yard. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're very excited to talk about this, but let's kind of just welcome everybody that's watching and just let you know that we want this to be a conversation, right? So there's a couple of different ways that you can join in on the conversation, and one of those is to leave us a comment on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope, wherever you're watching. You can also tweet along with the hashtag CloudQA, so really hope to hear from you guys. But let's get everybody introduced. I've already introduced myself. I'm Alan. Drew, how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Glad to cover this topic.
It's something that OpenStack is a big, important piece of Rackspace, and this Everywhere platform is going to go a long way to extend that everywhere, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry, but yeah, that sounds where it's about to go. But Joe, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about how long you've been here at Rackspace and kind of what you do here.
So I've been at Rackspace about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I came in as a project manager, and that's kind of been my primary experience here is in focusing on launching new products.
Yeah.
I first got my first one my first week here, which was launching RBAC for the public cloud, which was a very weird experience to get a week into the to your time here, fresh out of Rikio. Here you go.
Yeah.
And then kind of followed up with a couple other ones, and then I went down and ran kind of the program and project management for RPC OpenStack as they went through their kind of when we relaunched the product last September, actually 2 Septembers ago, and it was kind of like the software version, which now OpenStack is the next thing I've been working on, moving more into a product manager role, where that's kind of the platform for that software. So it's been a really great experience and learning a lot. It's pushed me into a lot of different areas of the company that I haven't had a chance to do before. So it's been really cool.
So for the audience, RPC is the abbreviation for Rackspace Private Cloud.
Yeah.
And it's also built on OpenStack, like our public cloud is, but so the abbreviations don't go without definition.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Kind of got caught up there. RBAC obviously mean roles-based access control. I did say that in Rackspace Private Cloud, and we have multiple versions of that. So you may hear RPCO thrown around. That's our OpenStack version, and if you hear RPCR, that would be our Red Hat version, and we'll try to stay away from acronyms going forward.
We can once they've been defined, we'll use them
that's
liberally.
Our job to kind of slow those down. Yeah, thank you. It's great to have you here, Joe. And Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself. How about you?
Sure.
Stuff at Rackspace.
Yeah, I'm based up here in Austin. Been a Racker for about 3 years now. Joined as a lead of the solutions engineering group, and I've worked with the enterprise customers all the way down into mid-market, literally from, and this is literal, from Fortune 1 all the way down.
Short list.
It's a huge group of people that we work with, and I have a team of cloud architects, and we've been selling OpenStack into the enterprise for since my time here, and I've started to take on more and more responsibility, and we're working with the product teams, our global data center groups, to build out this offering. And Joe and I paired up, and we started launching products together. Was it 2014, Joe? Is that right, when we did the first one?
Well, yeah. We've been working together that long. I think our first kind of real pair would have been the engagement enablement services launch that we did roughly July timeframe, and kind of laying the groundwork for all of this.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. We've been pouring down the foundation and building on top of it for a while now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So both of you have a pretty good understanding of Rackspace's relationship with OpenStack and our role to play when it comes to customers implementing OpenStack. So why don't you talk a little bit about that life cycle, where we've come from, and what has brought us to where we are now with this newest iteration?
Sure. Joe, you jump in where you think. But what we've got is this was the first product that Rackspace had in its portfolio. All this, we have this family of products that kind of extend across many different customer needs and use cases. Obviously, you have all the products that in our Rackspace data center. Your dedicated servers, your managed virtualization, our public cloud, all the other kind of office products. We have this whole suite of different things that we can do for customers, and you can pair them together. Our Rackspace private cloud OpenStack offering was one of the first products that was actually set up to be delivered outside of a Rackspace data center. So previously, what we had was this model where previous to the OpenStack Everywhere offering, the model was you could deploy it obviously in a Rackspace data center, just like you would with any other of our hosted products. And then we had this model where we would sit with a customer, we would consult with them. They would either provide hardware or we would give them a description of the hardware that they would need to purchase, and then we would put our services on top of that. So we've looked to actually change that model a little bit. There's actually a maturity path that we kind of see, and we feel like we've actually filled in a couple of the steps on that path to maturity. So, and let me draw that out for you a little bit further. So, in this path to maturity, we feel like all of these paths lead to Rackspace managed services, right? We feel that an OpenStack as a service is the consumption model of choice for OpenStack. Like, you can buy a distribution or you could buy it as a service. We think the as a service model is the one that is the best fit for OpenStack for customers that want to consume a cloud at scale. We are the preeminent people of delivering an OpenStack as a service model. So with that in mind, right, we had a model where you could deliver, where we could deliver that service into a customer's data center on customer hardware. I feel like that's the first step on the journey of them getting that taste of managed services, right? It's very low risk for them. They already have solved for the cost of their data center and their hardware. But almost universally, our customers are saying, I want to get out of the hardware business. I want to get out of the data center business, right? And so for us, we only really had one path previous to the OpenStack offering. It was a wholesale move into a Rackspace data center. And for some people, that's kind of a step too far. And so we looked to actually add a couple steps in there. One of them was to actually be able to take Rackspace managed hardware, managed networking, managed network security, all those things, and put it into a customer data center. We had done it with one customer. We had actually delivered the service for one customer. It had been on the roadmap for a while that we really wanted to productize that offering, and so we did. And then we took it a step further, not just actually delivering a Rackspace managed hardware solution with OpenStack services on top of it inside of a customer data center. We then took it a step further and filled in another gap saying many of these customers want to put a private cloud in a specific location. And so to do that, let's say, for instance, that they don't have a data center in Seattle or they need a data center in some other part of the world. We partnered with Equinix. We actually figured out how to wrap the entire hardware management services, the OpenStack services, all of that in an Equinix data center. So now you kind of have, instead of having two choices, OpenStack in your data center on your hardware, or Rackspace, the service in a Rackspace data center, now you've got four choices in terms of how you can consume the service, right? It's on your hardware in your data center, it's on Rackspace hardware in your data center, or it's on Rackspace hardware in an Equinix data center, and then Rackspace fully managed solution in a Rackspace production facility, right? So it really actually fills out that whole story of that customer journey, that path to maturity of consuming managed services, right? It's each little step. We feel like we've sort of filled that out. So that's, if I had to kind of, I know that was a little long-winded of an answer, but that's the approach we took.
No, that definitely clarifies a lot of the different pieces.
Yep.
I think a lot of struggles that customers run into is I see where your end goal is, and I see where I am, and until someone can draw out that path and I know how to get from here to there, it's just a pipe dream, and I'm not terribly compelled by the struggle of getting there. And filling in those gaps and clarifying that there are, a spectrum of options can really, I think, ease the concern that customers may have looking at a future state that's maybe out of reach.
Well, it's not just the plethora of options we want them to think about. It's about saying the costs you're putting into managing and running these things are kind of like hidden costs, right? And they take you away from your core business function. The same thing Rackspace is saying. All we're saying is let us take on more of that role so you can do more focusing on what is your core business application and what is your core business model. You have to pay somebody to manage that hardware, deal with the contracting, deal with all that other stuff. You have to pay somebody for the network and the carriers when we're like in an Equinix facility. You have to do all that, and that's stuff that's just cost, right? It doesn't really bring in revenue to the company or really solve some of their critical things. So let us take over more of these logistical problems from you, and we have DC experts that are the best in the world. We have OpenStack experts, best in the world. We have, dedicated project managers who can do this type of stuff for you. We can deliver that service that you're looking for and on a predictable basis. So our customers can really start to drive home, like take these limited IT dollars that they have and put them into much more impactful applications.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of them are they're all going through some sort of transformation, and that's the big sort of industry buzzword these days. Mm-hmm. Business transformation, digital transformation. It all gets painted with some kind of picture. Many of them say, well, cloud is the way that I'm going to achieve that transformation, and so we're looking to actually meet them where they are in that transformation based on the various options that we have and the solutions that we can provide. And then to Joe's point, by delivering those options and features, then they can actually focus on their core business. And for some of the customers in our portfolio, right, they tell us, I need to either have faster time to revenue, that's like their business objective, saying, I need to, I have a new product that I want to launch. I need to launch it in a new geography. If I were to do this myself, it's going to take me a year. If I bring in Rackspace, you guys can do it in a much quicker time frame. You bring all that expertise to the table, like Joe said, and that helps me get to the revenue faster. And that's huge. I don't know who else can do something like that.
Well, and it requires having a clear understanding of your priorities. It requires a business sitting down and saying the most important thing for us is time to market or latency in a specific geo or something like that. And once you've really come to the conclusion of our most important factor is this, being able to find partners who can deliver on that at scale and at pace becomes even more valuable, because you usually are daunted by the reality of, okay, that's really what we need. I'm not sure how we get there. And so to be able to go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and for us, like we actually, even a lot of customers don't have in mind that specific goal yet. And so there's some other aspects to the portfolio of services that the Rackspace Private Cloud team brings to bear on in these engagements with customers. And actually, we do a ton of advisory up front. We have what we call a requirements gathering framework, and we back that up with what we call a delivery methodology. Those two things actually allow us to figure out and uncover those business objectives and help customer focus on, these are the things I'm really trying to get out of this solution. And then we can draw that path of, well, here's your investment model, and here's the other things that you need to do. Here's the return on that investment, and help them actually build the financial case to then go and execute on these objectives. So we have a full suite of services. For end-to-end to us means starting at that advisory and then going all the way through everything, and then onboarding them and handing them a set of APIs that they can then just consume. So it's a pretty powerful solution.
In all, with obviously the fanatical support of Rackspace behind it, right? Every step of one of those ways, which I think is something that is hard to compete with from a lot of the competitors, right?
Well,
Yep.
and to have the depth of experience as well as the willingness to advise and tailor a solution. Um, the example that has always come into my mind is actually going to a tailor and saying, I need a suit for this thing. Oh, is it in the summer? Okay, you're not going to want that wool suit. That's going to be terrible. I'm going to take your measurements. I'm going to get you something that can breathe and all the. I mean, they know what they're doing because they've built a bunch of suits for a bunch of people in a bunch of situations. We're really well positioned, having a gigantic deployment of our public cloud on OpenStack, having so many customers, solving so many use cases in so many places and ways with OpenStack. So we've seen a bunch of the pitfalls. We've seen a bunch of the advantages you can get by approaching it in certain ways, and that being able to scale those lessons learned out and apply them as we go just amplifies the value you're getting in ways that going it alone, you're going to stumble over the things we already stumbled over, and we might be able to help you clear some of those hurdles much more smoothly. And I think that's the thing that gets lost a lot of times when you're attacking a new problem is the unknowns out there. There are people who do know what those unknowns are and where they are, but your team might not know that going at it for that first time. So I think there's a lot of huge value in it.
And I think that's the distinction between like a distribution and a service. I mean, I think both models are totally valid. In a distribution model, you're going to basically be consuming a bunch of bits and then having to get all those scars and bruises and cuts and scrapes, and you're going to have to figure that all out yourself. If you consume it in a service model, then you get, to your point, all that expertise that comes behind it. With us having actually operationalized in production hundreds of clouds for our customers. So.
That's great. Well, hey, I want to take a real quick minute to welcome everybody that's watching that might have just tuned in on Facebook, Periscope, and on YouTube. I just want to say hi. Thanks for watching. This is Alan and Drew hosting our weekly live stream for Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. We've got Joe Sacitano in the studio with us, and we've got Ryan Yard joining us just up the road in Austin. And we're talking about OpenStack Everywhere, our new anywhere you want it deployment of OpenStack, our private cloud software that we've developed in conjunction with NASA. Hey, it's great to have everybody watching us. See quite a few people on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube. We want to hear from you. If you're out there, go ahead and drop us a comment. Got a couple of people tweeting at us using the hashtag CloudQA. And then also, if you're watching on Facebook or Periscope, you might be hearing Ryan's voice but not seeing him. If you want to get that full experience, head over to live.ohpodcast.com. We've got the full live stream there with everybody's guests and beautiful faces in high resolution. And then we also have archives of all of our other 141 shows or something like that. You can find them all over there. So go in and check that out. But we've been talking a little bit about OpenStack Everywhere, and one thing that really struck me is this full spectrum of ways that we can support customers, whether it is completely within their data center, all the way through completely within our data center, and some very appealing steps in between. I like that, we were kind of at just those two ends of the spectrum before, right? It was, you install this, it's a distribution. We'll give you some very good advice on running this, but maybe not the equipment or the service level on that, and now we've kind of filled that in, and so that's where we're at. Let's talk about some of these a little bit more specifically, some of the steps in between, right? So you mentioned that there is the we're going to skip over the it's yours, you do with what you need to, and we're going to go toward the your data center with your equipment and a little bit of our support, right? Yeah. So let's go there.
So in that first step of a customer consuming OpenStack, obviously the way we start is we have cloud architects, we have specialists that provide advisory to the customer. As we described before, we have a requirements gathering framework and this delivery methodology, and we use this for each one of our customers, and it really helps us uncover not only all their business objectives, but all the technical, functional, and user requirements that come with being able to actually deliver a production private cloud anywhere in the world. So we start with that. We build out high-level designs for a customer. We work through all the details of getting each one of their implementation specifics into that design. and then we'll build out an implementation plan, or what's commonly called an implementation architecture, and we'll use that to then start the deployment process. At that point, then we actually pull in a program manager who will then start coordinating with the customer about us having delivering a survey to their site where we can actually inspect their data center. We give them all the requirements of what is needed for them to be able to consume the service, their power, the weight, the networking, all those things, and we'll survey their data center, make sure that they can provide those capabilities. From there, we actually manage the entire integration of the hardware, the delivery of the hardware. We'll install the hardware into their site. We'll configure all the networking, all the devices, lay down the operating system, the service, the actual OpenStack services, plug in all of our monitoring solutions, all of our operations get laid down in the form of security operations, network operations, backbone operations. All those things get delivered, and then we have an account team that's there the whole time working with the customer. At that point, they kind of take over and deliver an onboarding experience. They walk the customer through, here's the API endpoints, here's your user credentials. We make sure that we've got all of our implementation details in there, tenants and networks and all the specifics of what go within that private cloud are implemented to the customer specification, and we kind of hand over the keys. We turn all our management, monitoring, and operations on, and from there we help the customer scale capacity. We deliver break-fix support and any other kind of operational activities, patching, security management, all those stuffs can be delivered into that private cloud anywhere in the world. So that's kind of the soup to nuts version of how we do what we do. So I know it's a little lengthy, but it's a lot of stuff. If somebody had to do that on their own,
and that's the point,
daunting.
Right? I mean, like that's the point. Is that it's something that we've found that there are absolutely some customers of ours that are able to do the entire thing on their own in their own data center, and then there are others that they need that extra help, and we're happy to do that for them. All the way up through.
There's also that middle ground of we could, if we really wanted to, do it ourselves, but it's a conversation of is it worth it?
Is it worth it? What else? What are we missing out on? What can we improve more if we have somebody else to manage that for us? Let's talk a little bit about how we've determined the kind of tagline is from the floor tiles up to the ceiling tiles, right? So I mean, how have we determined what we're looking at?
Well, we do. We say from the floor tiles to the C-suite, meaning that we go all the way into the executive suite with our solution. As that example I brought up before about the kind of faster time to revenue, that's an objective that probably comes from like the finance office, right? That's a clear one. So what we're saying is we have a solution that can actually address that business objective coming from your finance office, right? Other business objectives we hear are, if it's coming from a marketing office, I have a specific region, I've done research in that region, there's users in that specific place, I want to be as close to those users as possible, I have some kind of latency requirement that comes with that, so maybe it's this combination of the marketing and the technology together. We have a solution where we can deliver that jointly and address some of those business objectives as well. We want to make sure that we have a fully vertically integrated capability, and I believe that's what we've done here.
Great. Well, we're getting a couple of questions on Periscope and elsewhere. We've had a few come in about monitoring. So can you talk about the monitoring tools that you've incorporated into these stacks?
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, you want to take that one?
We have we have Rackspace monitoring, the same thing that's used in our cloud, and it goes standard with everything that we have. So basically, customer, wherever their equipment is, we get an alert that, hey, something's wrong, and then we initiate a ticket and take all the break fix that you would normally do with that. There's also a host of other monitoring portions and tools that come with that. We also have additional monitoring that is used in-house for our networking that is also extended out to these when they're outside of our data centers, so that so our customers who have Rackspace on gear will also have the ability to track and monitor and get reports on how that networking is working and make sure that it's keeping their cloud running into the standards and SLAs that we've promised them. So it's really the real cool thing about all this is what we did with the Rackspace network engineering team is build these hubs that allow us to extend all the tools that Rackers are used to using to access our through our DCs. They can now use those same tools to go hit all these other spots, and so that's they're being put up to where we can do that worldwide. And it was actually a pretty great engineering effort, and it's one of those things that is really going to, I think, help make this product become more standard and not be a kind of a custom thing over time.
Mm-hmm.
We have some challenges that are still kind of standardized right now, like it's specialized, excuse me, not standardized. But we have the people who are used to doing it. We have a support team that's been supporting private clouds for 4 years now. They're used to doing that. It's not like we're figuring it out, right? It's about how do we get that document a little bit better, trained down to your NetSec things, and applied to more Rackers so that this can be scaled up.
That sounds like a point that would likely be potentially a footnote or something that gets glossed over, but something that just from the speed and the pace at which our support people are able to jump in and take care of issues when they're not having to be in multiple different platforms and using multiple different tools, using things that they're comfortable with and they use every day, really expedites that. And that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a foundational component of the design. Was actually, we had this user experience in mind that was the Rackspace support engineer. Like that was when we were building this thing out. Like we were like deeply concerned that the user experience that was delivered to that support engineer was the same as if it was a Rackspace data center. He would have all the same tools. He'd have all the same login information. Everything was consistent across the service, and so that for them. Literally what we were saying is that we've extended our Rackspace data center footprint from 9 global world-class production facilities to all the data centers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got another question. So you talked about the networking monitoring and those components being the same no matter where they are. You also mentioned that the monitoring that they would be using to monitor VMs would be similar, or if not the same, as what they're using in public cloud. There's a little bit of obfuscation there between the actual hardware and the monitoring you're getting about your actual cloud instance. What tools are there to monitor the hardware itself?
Well, actually, that's what's really interesting. I'll just put a finer point on that. So we actually use Rackspace's cloud monitoring tools to manage the hardware.
Cool.
We've actually built all the plugins into Rackspace Private Cloud that actually hook all the way down into the baseboard management of the devices. We've integrated that into our ticketing systems, and we can alert if there's a drive failure, if there's fan cooling issues, power, any of those things, and we can actually generate alerts and act on those alerts.
All the way down into the host.
Yep, all the way down into the host. Now, there's a distinction between what Rackspace does with our private cloud solution and some of the other service levels that we provide in other products. In this particular product, almost universally, our customers have told us that they don't want us to manage the guest.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because we have these big enterprise customers that are putting sensitive data in these virtual machines, they don't want us touching any of that.
Right.
And so at the monitoring of the guest, they can choose to include Rackspace Cloud monitoring and do that. However, a preponderance of our customers actually use their own monitoring suite at the guest tier.
Okay.
But as it's included in the service, all the hardware and the API, all the devices and all the network components are all monitored by Rackspace in the box.
Yeah, and the big thing on the API there is, we have industry-leading 99.99% API uptime guarantee, and this extends to this product as well. So that's wherever it is, they're still going to have that same 4.9 API guarantee, which I think that was pretty amazing to be able to pull that off too. And so they can get this reliable cloud backed by our people who have been doing it and built the biggest clouds in the world running OpenStack. So it's the crackers who came together to put this together it's been a really long process in terms of foundational pieces being built.
Mhm.
And Ryan obviously kind of saw the opportunity. It was time to stitch it together and put it. And as soon as I heard about it, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So it's a real exciting. I think it's going to be a real exciting thing for customers, and they have to. It's new, and they kind of have to learn, like, oh wow, I can do this, right? Like I can start to get out of some of these things and really trust the experts. And that's also part of the transformational experience they have to go through, right? They're kind of, face it, IT guys are kind of DIY type dudes,
Sometimes,
girls,
yeah.
We like to tinker.
Yeah, like to tinker. Hey, I can build it better myself, and then they don't think about like the long-term maintenance of all this stuff, and like, oh, let's build tools, and then oh wait, we got to keep those up to date. Well, we get to do that for them, right? And so those are the things that I think that the larger companies are really starting to realize, like, hey, there's people who are experts in this, and it's better to trust them. And then with all the tools we have, obviously help that.
Well, I'd put another spin on it. I really think and this is going to get maybe slightly controversial, but I like to drop a couple bombs here and there. So let me bring this one to the table. I think that cloud, particularly public cloud in general, is a series of terrible compromises. I just have to be honest. Yeah, so think about it. Like the first one that you have to deal with as a compromise is, where is it? Right?
Yeah.
Let's say, and then what's going to happen is, are all the public cloud providers going to put a public cloud in, every location that you want? No. So that's one compromise, right? Is that you got to compromise on where the service is delivered, right? That's number one. Number two is, there's a ton of security, compliance, data classification, all kinds of other stuff that you have to deal with as you're looking to consume these services. Like all the on-demand, all those other things, like it's a risk-cost decision, right? And so I think that's a compromise, right? You're going to have to say, well, I have to either modify my security stance or my compliance stance to be able to leverage a public cloud. So I think I'm just getting into some public cloud, private cloud debate type stuff. But for me, the fact that we can actually take a cloud, deliver all the kind of as a service, the on-demand, self-service, et cetera, and put all that in the location of your choice, and then wrap it in the customer's compliance and security stance, that's awesome. We're removing compromise from the cloud. We're making it simple. We're making it easy to consume, all that stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there, get a little controversial.
Well, there's definitely one of the things that Rackspace has done has been having this large set of offerings. There's not just a one way to solve things, and if you choose one way, you're not stuck in only that way. You can continue to add pieces to fit your needs. And we talked about this a little bit earlier with prioritization, but you can get some of the best of both worlds through looking broader than the solution that you're currently in or the way you've approached the problem so far.
Yeah, and I think
able to do that is huge.
Well, and I think and then the reason I believe, this is just my own philosophy, but the reason I think that we hear the words hybrid so much is that people are actually looking to figure out how to resolve those series of compromises.
Mm-hmm.
So, so they want this. I want this area that has my compliance, has all my security stance, has all these things that meet all my data classification and compliance needs. But I also need this capability to have almost infinite scale and on demand, all et cetera, et cetera. So I think what's really interesting, and I don't know if we've hit on it very hard, but in the solution that we provide with Equinix, if you are in a Equinix data center that has Cloud Exchange, which is, I don't know, I'll just get into Cloud Exchange real briefly.
Yeah.
Cloud Exchange is a networking capability that is unique to Equinix that allows you to attach services together. So for instance, if I wanted to attach a private cloud to a public cloud, I can use Cloud Exchange to do that seamlessly. So for instance, I could take my private cloud, put it into an Equinix data center that is next to a Cloud Exchange region, and burst into a Rackspace public cloud, into Amazon, into Google, into Azure, any one of those. And that's that for us, like we're actually trying to say, I solve hybrid in a simple, easy to consume service model as well.
And then guess what? We also have sister supports offerings that can also help a customer with those public account things with managed cloud on our public side, FNAC, AWS, Amazon Web Services, the Azure team. Like we also have those things to help the customer with the thing. So it's not just like, hey, here's hybrid and good luck, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Let's come alongside
let's come with
implement
it.
hybrid well.
Yeah, and implement hybrid that solve your business problems altogether.
Well, and it's
right. And then also Rackspace Managed Security, when he talks about that. Those are also things that this platform really allows us to do, is to give customers way more ability to solve their problems and take it off of their backs, and let us be kind of that first call, one call to answer all those questions, right? Like I don't have to manage 17 different vendors. Like think about that kind of easiness that this comes with.
I think the reason I bring up hybrid and some of those other things in public versus private is I'm kind of laying the path towards the evolution that we're seeing that's going towards containers, right?
Hey, that's interesting, Ryan. We actually had a question from Periscope that was asking about containers. Real quick, let's take a minute and say, hey, everybody, thank you very much for watching our live stream here at Rackspace, the #1 managed cloud company. We're talking about many of the different clouds that we help manage actually today, specifically our OpenStack Everywhere platform, which allows our customers to, it allows us to help our customers run OpenStack everywhere, really. So it's a very well-named product, so good work on that one, guys. But we're talking about that, and we've gotten a couple of comments on Facebook, on Periscope, Twitter, so keep those coming in. Use the hashtag CloudQA if you are commenting on Facebook, and keep them coming. But we did have a question, Ryan, and Joe, let's talk about this a little bit. Any plans to move this private cloud offering into more of a container-based solution, or how will containers become incorporated into our private cloud offerings?
Sure. Let me tackle this one, Joe, and you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, believe it or not, our entire control plane is actually built on containers. So it's pretty cool. We've taken each one of the OpenStack services. They were actually built in a service-oriented architecture. It's not the full-blown like microservice model, but each one of the OpenStack services is they are distinct. They are loosely coupled. And you can wrap those containers, those services in containers. So you've used LXC to be able to take each one of those services, distribute them across multiple physical devices, and that's actually how we deliver our SLA uptime on the API, is by having distributed services across multiple hosts that allows us to build a resilient cloud control plane that we can then stand behind with our SLA. So that's the kind of, I would just like to make that note. That's an interesting solution that we've picked, and we really feel like containers is a good fit for many of those types of workloads. Now, as it comes to private cloud, there's a couple different ways that you're going to see us doing things in the market. One is, obviously, with our Red Hat-based private cloud offering, you can choose to use something like OpenShift, which has underneath it Kubernetes as the container orchestration platform, and then you get to pick your actual container model underneath that. For Red Hat, it's their Atomic project that is a Red Hat flavor of containers. If a customer decided, again, we don't manage the guest tier, so if a customer wanted to deploy Cloud Foundry and use that as their container management solution, they could do that. If they actually want to manage their own Kubernetes deployment, or Mesos or any of those other kind of container orchestration platforms, they can do that. We've actually started working towards templatizing those solutions using Heat as the orchestration platform, so that you could basically click button deploy Swarm or Kubernetes or Mesos or one of those on your private cloud, and then you can kind of take it from there. There is a OpenStack project that is backed by Rackspace called Magnum. We then took Magnum and built a public cloud product off of that called Karina, and then you'll see us over the next couple quarters start to integrate Karina into our private cloud and have a container as a service solution that sits on top of our private cloud. So
That's huge.
Yep. Yep. So again, I think I really want to explore the breadth of our capabilities and how we can address that, and our expertise as well in terms of how we see customers kind of consuming private cloud plus containers. Additionally, as you'll know, typically we're seeing customers consume containers either in a virtualized mechanism or on top of what is commonly called bare metal.
Ironic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
OpenStack world.
Yep. So, and we'll be bringing Ironic is in our roadmap. It'll be delivered over the next couple quarters as well. Likely they will be delivered in conjunction with each other.
Great.
So you'll have a bare metal API that allows you to spin up a physical piece of hardware and then land containers on that using a container as a service. Yep.
Nice.
So you talked about
You got a big old smile on your face.
I know. I'm learning, right? So this is the selfish reason why I love hosting this, is because I get to invite people that are smarter than me on to talk about things that are exciting, and I think this is a great way to help our customers win and to help Rackspace win, because we win when our customers win.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I wanted to bring up the fact that we have a lot of expertise to bring to bear, and that that lends itself to some pretty serious opinionation on how we do things.
Not a Rackspace.
Well, you pair that opinionation, which I'm highly opinionated about this. You pair that with also trying to customize and tailor a solution for a customer's needs. That conversation has to get started somehow, and we end up with something at the end that meets everyone's needs and takes into consideration a lot of our lessons learned. Can you talk about some of that specific opinionation,
Sure.
maybe around Zen versus KVM, or
Sure.
some of those other topics
Yeah.
that seem to be front of mind for a lot of people deploying OpenStack?
Yeah, absolutely. So, let me turn your opinionation into prescription.
So as long as it isn't, I see something that happens with a lot of customers. They come to us having gone to WebMD and they say, "I've got cancer, and this is what I need. Shoot me with radiation, and I'll be better." And after a few questions, you find out it's a rash, and it'll go away by killing it or something.
Right.
So,
yeah, and so what we're suggesting is that we have a prescription for solving business objectives, right? And we've rooted out those business objectives with our requirements gathering framework and our delivery methodology. And then the way that we deliver not the prescription but the opinionation, to your point. So we say this is how we go about figuring out how we can solve your problems, right? In consultation with the customer, right? But then what we've used is Ansible as our configuration management suite, and so we've baked all of our opinionation into our configuration management tools. So it allows us to consistently deploy a configuration that has, as you said, all of our expertise that we sort of bring to bear. We've actually put all that expertise in code, right? And then we use that to deploy our customers' cloud environments. So Now, let's say the Zen versus KVM topic, right? What we've done is actually we've went and surveyed, and OpenStack, the community itself, surveys itself constantly to kind of figure out like what are the what are the high propensity solutions for OpenStack. So, for instance, 80% of people deploying an OpenStack cloud are using Ubuntu as the base operating system, right? Almost 70% of them are using KVM as the underlying hypervisor. And you can kind of go down the list of how these things were derived, but it's really about sort of what is the most stable, solid platform that is being deployed by the community. We take some of that information into account, and then we actually add our operational expertise to it. So not about, like when it comes down to like a virtual switch, right? We actually made some decisions that are controversial about how to deliver a virtual switch. And it really boiled down to, well, if I pick, let's say, Linux Bridge over the Open Virtual Switch, OVS, if I do that, I actually can manage, deploy, upgrade, patch, and deliver a production cloud with our SLAs better than if I was using OVS because of the ties into dependencies in the kernel tree, all those kind of things. We take all that into account as we're making our decisions and deciding what our opinion is, and then we deliver that opinion via prescription.
And a lot of that is learned through stubbing our toe on things where you get to a certain scale and you're like, oh,
yeah.
When we get to this point, which we beat everybody to because we have this scale, it starts causing problems. And so rather than put our other customers on that path, let's take that lesson learned. Let's find a solution that can address this well and move forward. And that's just one example.
Yep.
But to have all of the different production workloads that people are trying to deploy and specific needs that customers have, we get to see a lot of that stuff. And what we don't see, we're part of that OpenStack community where, like you said, we're polling, or OpenStack is having that conversation ongoing, and we see other people who are able to maybe trip a threshold that we hadn't tripped yet, bring that to the community, and then we can circumvent running into that same problem ourselves.
Yeah, and then all of the Ansible playbooks that we use are actually in the OpenStack Big Tent under the project called OpenStack Ansible. And so anybody that wants to go and consume our sort of philosophy on OpenStack, they can go do that via collaboration with us in the OpenStack Ansible project. So it's not like we're keeping it behind the closed doors and saying, oh, we're the magicians and we know all these incantations, but I can't share them with you. We actually do it all out in the open.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, hey, we're coming up on the end of the hour here, so I kind of want to try to draw this to a close. Joe, tell us a little bit about kind of how we're starting to roll this out for customers. I know we have a few customers that are already using it. What are some of the ways that if someone's out there and saying, hey, I would like to take a look at this a little bit closer, how would somebody get started with that?
Well, internally, externally, basically the same thing. As you're in a contact Rackspace, and you'll get assigned to a sales specialist, right? We have a team of people who have sold these things and can help a customer get customer qualification. Might be the wrong term, right? But understand that this is the right solution for what they're trying to solve.
Well, and going back to what Ryan said, I mean, there's compromises all over the place,
Right.
and so I mean, are you comfortable with those compromises? What are they? Help them figure it out.
Along with that, they'll, a little bit down in that process, they get assigned somebody from Ryan's team, enterprise cloud architects, who are the guy they built hundreds of these clouds, right? Like all over for the last 3 years, and they have this stuff down, right? Like they can doc and provide those consultative services that Ryan was talking about right from the beginning, right? This isn't something that we're just trying to figure out. We really do know what we're doing on this and how to get those customer solutions done. And of course, then you have your normal contracting kind of stuff and making sure the data center is going to work for you and the location is going to work, right? Like we don't want to just put a customer somewhere because it sounds cool, right? It needs to solve their problem. We're trying to build, long relationships with our customers. We don't want it to be that when they're successful, we're successful, right? And if we put them in a situation where it's too risky and it's probably going to lead to failure, well, then we're not doing anyone any service in that sense. So that's why this is get to know the customer, get to know what they're looking for, and give them the right product at the right time on their path, right? If you talk about like the classic marketing, what is a product? It's a price, it's a place, it's the people, and it's the product itself, right? Well, we kind of changed that a little bit in terms of saying place isn't just a physical locality, it's where you are in your maturity, right? And we have different things to help you along those things that make it cost effective and still allow you to do your business problems. So anybody who's on here, we have, if you're internal to Rackspace, you can hit the RPC sales. I think it's RPC_sales at Rackspace.com, and they'll definitely get you started on that. And then if you're outside of Rackspace, obviously you can contact any of our numbers or emails or Twitter, whatever, website, everything who's on social media, any of those methods, and we can get you with somebody very quick, right? Excuse me, sorry.
Finding people where they are, even if it's
that's not something that's going to be a difficult task for you, right? If you get connected to Rackspace, and we'll get you to the right people and help you through this journey, right? Either way.
Great. Well, great. Well, yeah, I hope that we can get some people out there. Ryan, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, I'd love to invite everybody out to the OpenStack Summit. It's up here in Austin. Hopefully you guys can come up.
Not next week, but the week after, the 25th through the 29th?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll be there. We got the whole crew. We're going to set up shop, and any questions, bring them. We're ready, and hope to see you out there.
If you're in the neighborhood, that is absolutely a great place to learn everything you ever wanted to know, and then some about OpenStack. Ryan, Joe, are either of you talking?
Well, no, I'm not talking. I don't know. Ryan, do you have I don't think you have one this year, do you?
We've got a 40-minute sponsored session, and I will be participating. So yeah.
Great. Yeah. And then Rackspace will have a restaurant across the street from the hall where we'll have people there the entire time who can come up, and if you want to ask questions, we can answer those. Yep. And then we'll also be pretty much manning the booth too with somebody who's smart on OpenStack Everywhere. We got mostly full coverage, but we'll definitely have somebody from RPC there who can get you in contact with one of the more knowledgeable people very quickly. So
good deal.
Yeah, so we will be there in full force, and definitely want people to come up and talk. Right?
Alan and I plan to be there. We'll probably be in the cantina for the majority of the event. So we'll have plenty of rackers there. We'll definitely be looking forward to hearing what customers in the market themselves want to know, and be part of discovering ways to solve those problems if we haven't already got it under wraps and ready to deliver.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a couple new things at the booth this year that are specifically focused on OpenStack Everywhere. So, yeah, definitely come by and check those out. They're pretty excited about them.
Yep.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we're going to try to bring some live commentary and maybe record a couple of other interviews from there. Yeah, definitely a great opportunity. So much knowledge is shared at those summits twice a year. So, and we're happy to have one right in our backyard again. I mean,
it's deja vu.
Right? Yeah, it's where it all started. It's where
the
very first one 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. So, on that note, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Joe and Ryan, really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to talk with us. And I know I learned a ton, and I'm sure that our customers and viewers have learned a little something as well. Again, if you're looking to learn more about this, contact us. There's a couple of different ways to get in touch with us. Drew and I have our Twitter handles here. @Rackspace is our main Rackspace handle. Go ahead and hit those up if you're looking to hit us up that way. While you're at it, follow us on Facebook and on Twitter, and it's a great way to get information about what's happening within Rackspace and other shows like this and fun things that are going on in Rackspace. On that note, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to be back again next week, 1 o'clock Central Time on Thursday, and pretty much every week after that. So
that's the plan.
That's the plan. All right. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Sure. All right.